There is not, I have to say, there's not an awful lot of jazz or there wasn't an awful lot of jazz on American radio, certainly not on the network stations that we used to deal with. Our stations could be divided largely into clearly defined categories. There would be easy listening stations, which is just all stuff by Peggy Lee, Doris Day, Andre Kostelannis, Percy Faith, and so on. Top 40 stations and country music stations. Once in a while we'd get an R&B station, which were usually very difficult to log because a lot of the stuff was obscure, not very often not announced or not announced very clearly. There was one station, a station in a place called Beaumont, Texas, a black station, which played R&B. And everything that came out was put through some kind of weird echo chamber effect. It just wasn't the natural sound at all. The announcements, the records, everything came out with this awful echo. And to try and figure out what the hell they were playing on that station was a nightmare. I only ever did that station. KJET, that's the name of the station. KJET. In Beaumont, Texas. Oh, God, that was a nightmare. I remember that all these years, and I still remember that bloody station trying to get those tunes down. But once you get a top 40 station, now the thing is, the top 40 is changing all the time, and as each month's new batch of tapes come in, you have a whole new set of songs to deal with. And if you get a top 40 station that isn't announcing everything, or that's putting extras in every so often, slipping in extras, and very often without saying what they are, you sometimes have the devil's own job trying to figure out what they are. We trying to work out a title and then look in the Record Aid or the latest releases and try and match up titles with the songs that are being released. There are certain songs to this day when I hear them over the radio. Of course, the big golden oldies now, but to this day I don't know what they are, and I hear them and I say, oh my God, we used to get that at ASCAP, and I never did find out what it is. There's one I can sort of think the contours of the song in my head. It has a kind of stop rhythm that go and I could never figure out what the hell that was. Another song that gave us a great deal of trouble, I now know what it's called. It was called She's About a Mover by the Sir Douglas Quintet. Now that's fairly well known. I mean, if you had a copy of that record fair, it would probably sell. But I remember one day we were all gathered around somebody's tape, listening to this bloody record and trying to figure out what the hell it was they were singing. Oh, it was murder. I remember another cause célèbre that we used to have was a record called They're Coming to Take Me Away by Napoleon IV or something. I don't know if that was popular in England, but it was. We listened to that record over and over and over again to try and establish whether or not there was any actual music in it, because it seemed to me, several of the people listening, that they never actually got to the point of singing, and the accompaniment was purely rhythmic. And it occurs to me that a lot of rap records now would go down. I mean, they'd be logged, but there didn't seem to be any music on some rap records, some of the early ones anyway. They'd have a funky beat, but it'd be purely rhythmic rather than melodic. And the singing or rapping would be in the form of a kind of rhythmic speech or poetic speech or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. But it was very interesting. I did that job for 4 years, and as I say, there's a lot of overtime, so you could make a bit of money at it. and you are in the company of like-minded individuals all day. Everybody's steeped in music. People who don't really know music never really make the grade in that job. They'd stay there for a week or two and then just drop out. Some people used to drop out the first day. We had an English guy came in one day with a navy blue suit, black shoes, short back and sides, hair slicked back. And my friend said to me, "How do you like your English, pal?" And this guy came in. I think he lasted until lunchtime on the first day. And then he went for his lunch and we never saw him again. But it's a kind of job. It is a little bit difficult at first, but once you've been there a few weeks and you've got used to what's expected, doesn't seem. It's like so many things in life that are daunting at first, like learning to drive a car. I thought learning to drive a car was impossible the first time I got in, but you get used to it, and it's amazing how, like, once you know how easy it is. But the ASCAP job was, I could honestly say it was never very easy, mainly because they had to keep up a pretty high standard. You had to get everything down, and you had to get it down right, and you just simply were not allowed to make mistakes. You can't make mistakes. And when you're first there, they check your tape and go over it with a fine-tooth comb, see if you've made any mistakes, and haul you over the coals for the mistakes that you do make. But once you're established and your credentials are okay and they're satisfied that you can do the job, then all you have to put up with is the occasional spot check. A guy called Ron Backlightner will come. He was one of the day supervisors. He would go over, pick a tape at random from your submissions, a program, that means everything that you've written down, and go through it, listening to your tape and making sure that everything's down. I remember once he got one of my tapes and I'd had a baseball game, and those were the nightmare, because in America at baseball games they have a kind of interlude in the middle where somebody plays the organ, theatre organ or electronic organ on the pitch, and they're running through a selection of the hits of the day or the standards or whatever. But it doesn't pick up very well on tape, and sometimes it's extremely hard to hear what the hell this guy's playing, especially since somebody's talking over the top of it. The baseball announcer block is talking over the top, but you can hear this bloody distant organ music, and sometimes they're very difficult to pick out the tunes, but you have to pick them out because they're on the tape and they have to go in. And he got one of my tapes and I'd missed some of the tunes off this thing, and we went over it. It took about an hour. Oh God, that was awful. That was horrible. And that's all I have to say at this moment. I plead the Fifth Amendment on the grounds that it might incinerate me. I refuse to speak any further. What time is it anyway? Let me just hold on. 21:21, 20 past 9. I'm going to play a little bit of Muzak.